Welcome to Shomach Shav on the Daf. We're holding in Chulin Daf Samech Beis. Rashi in the end of Amud Beis says, "We don't know which birds are tar, which birds are tameh. So nearly the if there is any bird that comes in front of us, maybe he's doing drisa. How do we know that? The Achta, the girls, the Agmo, in our sug we spoke about the girls, the Agmo. We thought it was tar. Then they saw they do drisa. The only oif you can eat is only if you have a Mesorah. Then we know it's tar. You have to have a Mesorah. And that's also the simple mashmos of the Gemara Lekamont of Samech Gimel, that you trust a hunter who has a Mesorah, which birds are tar. My Rebbe Ramesh Shapir Zatzal mentioned one of the shiurim. There was a Mesorah in a kehila in Germany. There was one day every year, that they used to shecht 100 types of birds to keep the Mesorah, which birds are tar. And this is what brings the Ramah as well in Yeridei Sin Pei Beis Sif Gimel. V'yeshoimim she'en lismach afilu al zeh v'hein le'echol shum oif ela b'Mesorah shekiblu boy shu tar v'chen noyagim v'hein l'shanus. You have to have a Mesorah. So this led to Gedolei HaPoskim discussing the Indian of a turkey. What's a turkey? When they discovered America, they found a new bird that they didn't have before. It's a type of chicken. It's called a turkey. And the shaila is, can you eat it or not? And the minhag in Am Yisrael is to eat it. And the shaila is, how did they eat it? There was no Mesorah. They did not have a tradition to eat the turkey. How do we understand that the Am Yisrael is eating turkey when there was no Mesorah? And the Tshuva Sefer, Ha'elef L'Chashloimoy, written by Shlomo Kluger, he writes Becharifus that you're not allowed to eat turkey. He says, Turkey, we do not have a Mesorah. And he says, Jews started living, he says in his time, Jews started living in America only about 100 years before his time. And how can you come and say we have a Mesorah? There's no Mesorah before. And he says, especially the first Yidden living in America were not the biggest Tamei Chachamim. So therefore, we have no Mesorah. So therefore, Shlomo Kluger concludes that Turkey is Osir. Others argue in the Sefer Domestic Eliezer, which is a Sefer written in Maseches Chulin, he says that because the turkey has all the Simoni Tahira, so we're soymech on it. So the Darkei Tshuva in Yeridei Sin Pei Beis Ois Chavav, he's Mayich, he brings all the Tshuvas to speak about it. He mentions the Shoel Meshiv. The Shoel Meshiv says that L'chura, the only reason they were allowed to eat turkey is because the Rabbanim that were pasking in this way, they did not agree with the Ramah. They held that you could eat even without a Mesorah. But for us, that we eat a Mesorah, l'chura, that should not be good enough. So he brings there two different answers. The last answer that he brings is the name of the Sefer Arugas Aboisim. Arugas Aboisim says that what the Ramah means to say, based on the Rashi by us, is that we never know, maybe a bird is a doirus. Maybe it happens to be that a bird, it does do drisa. And therefore, we have to be choishish, have to have a Mesorah. But if you tested it, and you checked it, and you saw for sure that there was no drisa at all, and it's so clear that this oif is not doiris, so then you can rely on the simonim. And he immediately says that's what happened with the turkey. They were living by us. They imported them, and everybody sees them, and they see how they grow and how they eat. And it's very clear to us, that to the naked eye, that it's not doiris, and therefore then you don't have to have a Mesorah, and that's the reason we rely on the turkey. The Netziv, in his Sefer Meshiv Dover, Chelik Beis Simchav Beis, he addresses this as well. And he says something which is in the beginning not so clear. He says, and in the context of what he brings before, it sounds that it may have been a mistake. They thought it's a chicken, and therefore they ate it. It was huchzak to be mutter. Now we're going back and we're figuring out what was the reason they were matir. After they made a mistake. After there was no Mesorah, and therefore it was a mistake. But once it became a chazaka to eat it, so now we don't stop it. And he brings a raya from our Rashi, because Rashi says, by us in this sugya, that to go to the Agmo, they thought it was mutter, they ate it, and then they figured out it was doiris. That means there was a minhag, everybody ate it. It was a mistake, but people ate it. Until they didn't see it was doiris, they didn't stop them. So the same thing by the turkey. We're not going to stop people eating them because it goes huchzak leheter. And maybe the Netziv is referring to this concept of Yisrael im einam neviim b'nei neviim. And we spoke about legabe minhag Yisrael Torah. When Am Yisrael does something as Am Yisrael, and something happened, this itself is a shayrish, a Mesorah, a place to rely on. So the question is, how did it start? There was no Mesorah. It's a good question. But the fact that now it's huchzak leheter, so now we don't come and stop it. So this is part of the fascinating discussion that comes based on the Rashi in our sugya. Anyone who wants to join and sponsor Shomachshava Shiurim, please email shomachshava@gmail.com.